With the recent passing of rock legend Ozzy Osbourne, the Muppets are probably the last thing that come to mind in relation to the Prince of Darkness. Jim Henson's lovable characters couldn't be more of a contrast, which makes the fact they've actually crossed paths several times over the years all the more interesting. So let's take a look at the frankly bizarre history between Ozzy Osbourne and the Muppets. Ozzy first rose to fame in 1970s England as the frontman of Black Sabbath, a band often credited as inventing heavy metal. With his unmistakable singing voice and wild antics, he quickly became a symbol of edginess and rebellion within the rock scene. His solo career further cemented this, before reality TV fame through The Osbournes introduced him to a whole new generation as a bumbling yet oddly endearing family man.
Are you sober now?
No, yeah.
So, where do the Muppets come into this? Well, despite the Muppet Show attracting some of the biggest names in music throughout the 70s while it was being filmed in England, Ozzy Osbourne was surprisingly not one of them. And it wasn't until 2 decades later that both had a bit of a resurgence and began crossing paths. Kermit Unpigged was an album released by the Muppets in 1994, being a parody of the popular MTV Unplugged series. The overarching narrative of the album is that Kermit and the gang get lost in a recording studio, so they encounter various celebrities along the way, and are of course compelled to sing with them. As Miss Piggy searches for Kermit, she inadvertently opens the wrong door to reveal Ozzy Osbourne, who invites Piggy in to perform a rendition of Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild, as you do.
Miss Piggy, welcome!
Ozzy Osbourne? Boy, did I open the wrong door. Sorry to bother you.
Oh, Miss Piggy, you're not bothering me at all. Stick around, we're gonna run!
This is the only time that Ozzy ever performed the song, so his duet with Piggy is all that exists. And was a surprising inclusion on his Prince of Darkness album in 2005, whilst it's also worth noting that Piggy was still being performed by Frank Oz at this point, so ironically we got both Ozzy and Oz in the recording booth, though unfortunately there are only 2 images to document this.
I love you, Miss Piggy! You stop spitting! Ozzy! Ozzy! Ozzy, get off the floor!
Ozzy did, however, record some video footage for the She Drives Me Crazy music video.
You gotta give me 1, 2, 3, 4.
And appears in promotional material for the album. What is perhaps Ozzy's most memorable moment with the Muppets came in 2002, when he and Kermit crossed paths during the Queen's Golden Jubilee concert. You've already got the bizarre proposition of the notoriously vulgar Ozzy Osbourne performing heavy metal for the royal family, so when you throw Kermit the Frog into the mix, it's truly a sight to behold. Alas, Ozzy restrained himself for the sake of the Queen, and the concert was a massive success. But footage of Kermit from this event seems to be non-existent, despite his role as guest presenter. Only a few screenshots and photographs can be found online, the most infamous of which depicts Ozzy attempting to bite off Kermit's head, as a homage to the bat-biting incident of 1982, but I digress. Just a few years later, in 2005, Ozzy met Fozzie on the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live, whilst promoting The Muppets Wizard of Oz. Once again, quite ironically. Many have commented that Ozzy seems transfixed by the talking bear, which, given that he once found himself in deep conversation with a horse after taking psychedelics, probably wasn't too out of the ordinary for him. As one comment notes, Ozzy's just happy that everyone else can see his hallucination. This continues until about halfway into the interview, when Ozzy finally seems to process what's going on around him.
Fozzie, how do you like it here in Los Angeles?
What am I talking to a love puppy boy?
Jimmy then produces the photograph from the Queen's Jubilee, with Fozzie confirming,
Ozzy almost bit his head off.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was
Thank
kind
God.
of scary. Yeah.
How do you
It's
like
all better now, right? Yeah.
Behind the scenes photos show they were later joined by Rizzo the Rat and Ozzy's wife Sharon. But once again, that footage can't be found anywhere online. In a 2011 appearance on George Stroumboulopoulos Tonight, Kermit recalled the Queen's Jubilee as a highlight of his career, with one particular story standing out.
I will say one serious one was going to the Queen's Jubilee when she was 75, and I was at Buckingham Palace, and Brian May's up on top of the palace playing God Save the playing God Save the Queen, and then I walk into they had this porta potty thing, right? And who should walk in? And this is a true story. Ozzy Osbourne. I stood at a urinal next to Ozzy Osbourne.
Did he notice you?
No. No, I'm very small, but I'm not going to say any more than that. But.
Right.
This particular story is noted for its suggestive implications, which seems apt considering the presence of Ozzy. Sharon Osbourne also met the Muppets independently of Ozzy at the BAFTA Awards and on America's Got Talent, where she and Miss Piggy started to squabble over each other's men. This narrative was cleverly built upon over time, eventually culminating in Piggy's appearance on The Talk in 2012. Piggy alleged a relationship with Ozzy, calling back to their performance of Born to Be Wild back in the 90s.
It was a professional relationship.
I know that, but
We
it took
sang
me...
Born to Be Wild, so we kind of had to get wild.
To which Sharon responds by revealing an intimate picture of herself and Kermit. As you'd imagine, an explosive catfight ensued between the two, bringing an end to this iconic, decade-long feud.
Oh, you were just giving him a massage, is that it?
In more recent years, as the Muppets' on-screen presence has dwindled and Ozzy was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, it's safe to say that the bizarre relationship between the two hasn't been at the forefront of anyone's minds. However, Ozzy wasn't going to go out quietly, as despite his limited mobility, he would reunite with Black Sabbath for one last concert and raise tens of millions for Birmingham Children's Hospital and the Cure Parkinson's charity, just 17 days before he died. When this happened, one of the first tributes to pour in was from none other than Kermit's performer, Steve Whitmire, who recalled a familiar story from the Queen's Jubilee back in 2002. It reads, Pete Coogan, long-time British Henson producer, was on hand to help in organising Kermit's little moment in the huge show that evening. As we neared showtime, Pete and I did one last run to the restroom to get through the show. They'd brought in these amazing, elegant restroom trailers for the backstage area, clean as a whistle, hardwood panelling inside. Pete and I went into the one marked men's, and in the way two guys who know each other standing at urinals might often do, we left a courtesy urinal between us, to give a little privacy. Suddenly, as we stood there, we heard someone else noisily enter the trailer. The guy was making noises a bit like laboured breathing, mixed with something that sounded a bit like muttering to oneself. This fellow was approaching Pete and me from behind as we heard the slightly garbled, unintelligible vocalizations. Then he stepped right in between us, nearly brushing shoulders, unzipped, and sighed a big sigh. After a beat, this fellow said with a heavy British accent, "Alright gents," and at the same time both Pete and I glanced towards the urinal to see Ozzy Osbourne calmly and serenely standing there, punctuated by the sound of 3 streams hitting porcelain. This is a moment I'll never forget. I loved everything about Ozzy. If you haven't noticed already, this is the true version of events from the 2011 Kermit interview. So this had actually happened to Steve, and then he retooled the story to be from Kermit's perspective, which is really cool. Speaking of, the character of Kermit has also written a tribute on the official Muppets account, which has since gone viral. It reads, from the pad of Kermit the Frog, "No one rocked harder than the great Ozzy Osbourne. We loved working with him on our album Kermit Unpigged. He recorded Born to Be Wild with Miss Piggy, the perfect song for both of them. Every time we bumped into Ozzy over the years, he made us feel just as cool as he was. We loved having a friend like Ozzy Osbourne, and we feel so lucky to have known him, worked with him, and experienced his music for so many decades." Needless to say, this tribute has made a lot of headlines as the universe has suddenly remembered the connection between Ozzy Osbourne and the Muppets. But what made these unusual encounters so compelling is the unexpected harmony between the two. As it turns out, both Ozzy and the Muppets both thrived on exaggerated personas, theatricality, and a deep love for music. Their collaboration is a reminder that entertainment is often at its best when it challenges expectations. Ozzy, once feared for his dark reputation, became a lovable reality TV dad, whilst the Muppets, once dismissed as children's characters, are now recognised for their subversive and self-aware adult humour. Together, they reveal just how flexible and enduring pop culture icons can be.